in light of everything that's been happening between Candace Owens and Turning Point USA, some former employees, some alleged former employees, has begun to speak out. We talked about in the previous video, we got to hear from a man who claimed he was close to Charlie Kirk. He actually showed receipts of that and saw some things happening behind the scenes with Turning Point USA where it comes to where money was going, the organization itself, how it was run, and different things about the company. So now we're going to hear from a Turning Point USA former employee that said she has nothing but good things to say about Turning Point, and is responding to a lot of the, we'll call it, hate that she's been hearing from other employees. Check this out.
I worked for Charlie Kirk and for Turning Point USA as the donor communications liaison for about 6 months. The other day, an ex-coworker of mine went online and started bashing Turning Point, calling it evil and the people that work there evil. That didn't sit well with me, and so I'm gonna tell you the truth. The truth is, I have every single reason in the world to be mad at Turning Point. They kind of screwed me over 3 different times.
Wait, that's your take, and you're saying that she was wrong in how she felt? All right, we'll let it go.
Every reason to stand on TikTok and bash Turning Point, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you the truth objectively as possible to my experience. The mission of Turning Point USA, in case you forgot, is to educate high school and college kids about conservative ideologies. Charlie Kirk was its founder, its CEO, and a public figure that had his own ties and relationships with other people not associated with the organization that helps to bring those conservative ideologies to high school and college campuses. I think the organization in a whole is disorganized and slightly dysfunctional. Nobody really knew what was going on. Granted, the time that I came in, there was a lot of changes being made, so I give them grace for that. But the organization is slightly dysfunctional, and that's just a fact. But nobody there is inherently evil. A lot of the people that work there and are in power there are in power for a reason. They want money, they want status, they want power. Turning Point was a great place to work your way up to that. That's why people were working there. And the people in power were harsh, and they were strict, and they had strict guidelines that a lot of people, when I had gotten there, started to slack on because the organization was changing. This person, who you guys probably seen the videos of her going around saying that Turning Point is evil, when the truth of the matter is they were just strict. They weren't evil. And people crack under strict pressure, and unfortunately she cracked. Now she has a personal vendetta against Turning Point and going online and saying that they're evil and that she agrees.
Dang, it's turning people against each other. Former employees. Boy, this is weird, man. I don't know a company that I've seen former employees are going back and forth saying the company was great. No, the company was terrible. No, the company was great. You're just bitter. No, the company was terrible. You're just protecting someone. Yo, this is all crazy and weird and strange, but maybe some people just want to get their voice out or to defend Turning Point in some way, even though this young lady said that she could bash them if she wanted to. But why is that?
With Candace Owens. Now, my opinion on Candace Owens varies. I hope and pray in her heart she is just doing what she thinks is best. But I don't know how you can sit there and call yourself Charlie Kirk's best friend and claim that you have the #1 podcast in the world and bash people that Charlie loved and who loved Charlie. I don't know many of the people that she mentions by name personally, so I won't talk about them. But I will talk about Mikey McCoy. I interact with Mikey 3, 4, maybe 5 times since I was working there. And every single time, he was kind and nice and intentional and smart and personable. And he remembers things about people, and he cares for people, and he cared about Charlie. When I heard that Charlie died, the second person I thought of was Mikey, and how he was most likely there, which he was, watching his best friend and his boss be murdered. I have no reason to believe, after working there, after personally knowing Mikey McCoy, that Mikey would have anything to do with his best friend and boss's death. And truthfully, I kind of find it appalling that somebody who claims that she's Charlie's best friend would go on to her #1 podcast in the world and bash people that loved Charlie. I
don't know where these people are getting their facts from. She says that she watches Candace Owens and she's hit or miss on her content and how she feels about her. I have not heard Candace Owens bash any of these people. She saw behavior, Mikey being on the phone, walking away from Charlie Kirk, and said, man, that seems weird. Somebody who's close to Charlie, that they would behave this way. She said the same thing with every single person. The only thing I've heard her call people out about is the lies. And the lies there are lies there. We saw them say one thing and now they've changed their story multiple times throughout this investigation. So again, asking questions and saying, that looks weird is not bashing somebody. I don't know why these people who support either Turning Point or how the FBI conducted this investigation, or Governor Cox or the Utah local police there, how they're going to just continue to say that they want people to stop talking about and stop asking questions. I think we're at the point to where that's just not an option and people are going to continue to ask questions. So again, questioning what we see with our eyes and saying that is, and painting that as bashing someone, I don't think that's fair. We want to know the truth. Candace Owens wants to know what happens with her friends. And if she sees something that doesn't look right, she's well within her rights to call it out.
Get the desire. You as fans
thing.
of Charlie want to know the truth. You want the deeper meaning. You want it. I get it. I personally was really interested in the Idaho murders because I went to school in Idaho and I got so invested in it and I started losing sleep about it because I wanted to know the truth. But the truth is that those kids unfortunately are dead, and the truth is Charlie unfortunately is dead. And maybe it's bigger than the shooter that we think it is. Maybe it's some deep state thing, but I firmly believe it has nothing to do with Mikey McCoy or the day-to-day people who run the operations at Turning Point USA.
And that's fine if that's what you believe, but don't shame people for asking questions and call it bashing because they haven't come to the same conclusion as you. You have to ignore a lot of basic biological senses to think that everything has been fine. If we just look alone at Charlie Kirk shortly before he was murdered, shortly before he was assassinated, talking about a large donor that was trying to control things. And this donor was a part of a certain culture, and he was tired of that culture trying to push and manage and change and think they were entitled to tell him how he should think. But that's just one piece of it. There's so many other things that just aren't adding up. I personally don't believe in coincidences. And if we're going to look at things objectively, a lot of questions remain unanswered. Well, we're just supposed to say, well, Brian Koberger, he killed those kids. He's in jail. I guess it's over. No, there's still families out there, friends of them, that want to know why Brian did it. Why he picked them specifically. And the same thing here with Charlie Kirk. Things aren't adding up. People are lying in 4K. Turning Point's acting weird, telling Candace Owens she can only show up in person and they won't let her appear by Zoom any place, anytime. Zoom makes that possible. It just keeps getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And then you have this, I don't want to use the C word, but then you have these people who are very stern followers and believers in this side of things and want to say, hey, Charlie's dead, just forget about it. Let's support Erica and continue to send Turning Point our money so we can continue what Charlie did. No. We can't ignore.
Part of my job was answering the phones, and I'd say more often than not, I got more hate calls than anything else. And the security guard that you guys saw doing those hand motions in front of Charlie, he was the person that kept me safe while I was doing my job. And another person that a lot of you guys are targeting online that I promise you is a good, kind person that you guys are attacking because you want to make a point, because you want to know more. And trust me, I understand that you want to understand what's going on. I get it, but you can't do that by attacking people who loved Charlie, like Mikey and like the security guard. Now, I only met Erica Kirk one time, and it was in passing, and she was with her kids, so it really doesn't count. But my first experience is what you guys are experiencing with her online, and I can understand where you guys are coming from, with her feeling cold and disconnected. But you have to remember, she just watched her husband be murdered. I want to give her a little bit of grace and a little bit of time. Turning Point is hers by Charlie's will. This is her company now. Now, I met Charlie twice. First time I met Charlie, he was so nice to me because he thought I was a donor kid. And the second time I met Charlie, he was kind of rude to me and a little bit arrogant and standoffish. And it personally hurt my feelings. And then I left Turning Point with kind of a bitterness towards the organization and towards Charlie. But after watching Charlie die, After watching Charlie die, I became more proud to have worked at the organization because I stood for the same things that Charlie stood for, whether or not he was the nicest person in the world. I believe, and I still believe, in the mission of Turning Point, which is to educate young people about conservative values and to bring God and America back. I don't know the truth about who killed Charlie or who was or wasn't involved, but I can promise you that the day-to-day people loved Charlie. They loved Charlie, and I'm getting emotional because it's so hurtful to watch people that I care about be slandered on the internet by people that call themselves coworkers, that people that call themselves friends of Charlie and friends of myself and friends of the organization. People, your words hurt. I am not a detective. You are not a detective. Candace Owens isn't a detective.
What? Yes, she is.
The only person that truly knows all the ins and outs of everything is God. So I'm gonna end this by saying, what do you believe in? Do you believe that conservative education and bringing America First values back into the public school systems is important? Then continue to support Turning Point USA. Tune out the noise and the lies that the organization is evil, because it's not. It's slightly disorganized, it's slightly dysfunctional, but so is every other company. Truthfully, this whole thing makes me sick. I couldn't go to Charlie's memorial because it just hurts. So just please give it a rest. Let Charlie rest. Let his legacy live on through conservative education, through Turning Point. Leave Mikey McCoy.
Boy, I can't take any more of this, man.
Stop the cap.
I'm so sick of people telling us to stop. I'm with Candace on this. The more you say stop looking, the more you say let it rest. I don't want to let it rest. That means there's something there. With friends like these, who needs enemies? Why not just say, if you believe that, I hope you find the truth. But please, can we just refrain from saying someone did this or someone did that? Fine, I think that would be fair. But to tell us to just stop and please stop looking. What do you mean? Stop searching for the truth? Isn't Turning Point built on the foundation of giving people and finding and speaking the truth, asking questions? I am so confused about people who are taking this stance. Now, I think what's happening is this young lady is probably seeing what's being said on a lot of other places on the internet, and she made that clear, and it's now being directed at Candace Owens and how Candace Owens is saying. And a lot of people are mixing the two and saying, oh, what people are saying online that's directly related to Candace. What Candace says is what Candace says. Go look, go watch the videos, and she's very clear about what she's saying and what she's finding. Also, to say she's not a detective, I think is hilarious too. Now, this is the young lady that she is talking about and was taking shots at, that said she was a bitter former employee by saying that people at Turning Point were evil. I think to blanketly say that Turning Point was the greatest organization ever and everybody there loved Charlie is disingenuous. There's always a couple of bad apples in whatever company that you're in. Not saying I believe any of these people, because I don't know for a fact that they even worked for Turning Point USA, other than the gentleman who showed proof that he worked for Turning Point. But this young lady had a response to not only what she heard from her former coworker, but she wanted to give some additional information about the first video she made. Check this out.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna make it like a thing every 2 years to post something that breaks the internet, and then nobody knows who I am, and then it just comes back again.
Candace, yeah. Go ahead,
My
Candace.
story. How I got involved with Turning Point, how I started working for them, how I ended up as a donor relations officer. 2021, I was a freshman at Louisiana State University, making my way on campus. Saw a table with conservative material on it. Brilliant. Went to a meeting, loved it. Went to a conference in Panama City Beach, Florida. That was the first time I saw Charlie Kirk live. Absolutely loved it. Knew I wanted to be involved. Went completely in. Ended up starting to work for them part-time on campus as a campus coordinator, which isn't even a thing anymore. Basically, me just signing up students, going out and tabling every week and getting students involved. Outside of that, I also got really heavily involved with state policy. I was working on bills, I was writing bills, testifying on bills, getting them passed, getting them killed, One of my testimonies ended up going viral. Turning Point picked it up and said, "We think you're great. Want to go to Israel?" Yeah, I want to go to Israel. So I packed up my stuff, went to Israel for 10 days in the summer of 22, applied for a full-time job, interviewed in Israel, got the job, came back, basically immediately started working as a high school field representative for Turning Point USA in the Bayou region. For about 2 years, I worked on that and did all kinds of stuff in between. I ran for state rep, did all kinds of other crazy stuff.
Good for her.
And then ended up making the decision to leave. After leadership started doing all kinds of crazy stuff, I was not interested. Well, word got out that I would be leaving. And I got drugged right back in. Some wonderful people within the organization, and that was not sarcasm, by the way, they are incredible, decided that I would be a really good donor relations officer, working with donors, fundraising, building those relationships for Turning Point. Great. I packed up all of my stuff and moved to the other side of the country, left everybody and everything I knew in Louisiana, and I was left up to the people who I was referring to in the last video and my first video. And I will not be naming names. I will not be getting into specifics. I will say as much as I can
name some
without
names.
putting myself, my family, and my property in any sort of danger of anything.
That's fair.
It was about a year of doing that and going through the motions of whatever it was that I was being put through in that position, and ended up leaving. I made amazing memories and amazing friends, but I would say there are some changes that I would have made. If anything, my faith grew 10 million times stronger from that situation. I got baptized this past February.
Hey.
I love the Lord more than anything. I was
love
not
to
a
see
Christian
that.
when I got involved with Turning Point USA, and am one of the strongest Christians you will probably ever meet now. What a journey it has been, and it all started with Charlie. I am eternally grateful for that man. I'll do anything and say anything that I can to let people know that he was amazing at what he did. But yeah, ultimately, be safe.
Again, we're seeing a lot of receipts from some of the people who are saying maybe more negative things about Turning Point USA than other ones who are championing them. Because I think the truth and the facts that we're seeing are pointing to something going on in Turning Point USA that we don't have the answers to, whether it involved Charlie Kirk's death or not. There's still a lot of answers we need from Turning Point USA about what was happening surrounding the time and before and after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And a lot of the employees are starting to speak out here. I want to know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. So many questions still. We'll have to wait and see if maybe sometime next week Turning Point addresses that. We're looking maybe towards a Monday that we're going to find out and hear some more answers from Turning Point. We'll have to wait and see.